Proverbs 17, I think I made it as far as verse 15 last time. And if I'm overlapping, I'm sorry, because I've got a short memory and I can't remember where I left off. So here we go. He who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the just, both of them are alike. They are an abomination to the Lord. This is describing an upside-down justice system. America wouldn't know anything about this, you know. God desires justice, for righteousness to reign, for wrong and evil to be put down, you know. We should punish the evildoers and we should uphold the righteous, good people. And yet you look around the world and that system is upside down today. And it's turning more upside down, you know, every day, you know. One day we are all going to stand in front of the Almighty Judge. One day we're going to stand toe-to-toe and face-to-face with the Judge of all. And nobody's going to get away with anything on that day. It's either all going to be placed upon Christ and forgiven and washed and put away, or you're going to stand there in your sin and in your failure and face to face with that reality. And I know which one I want to choose, you know. I know which one I have chosen. I want to get it over with now, you know. And so I'm looking forward to that day, actually. Verse 16, why is there in the hand of a fool the purchase price of wisdom, since he has no heart for it? It's kind of like saying, you know, wisdom is free, wisdom is out there, wisdom is everywhere. You know, you read through this book and it says it's on every street corner. It's at the end of every block. It's the place of every decision. Wisdom is right there waiting for you. But if you have no heart for it, it's never going to do you any good. It's never going to change a thing in your life unless you go hunting for it, unless you desire it, unless you want it. You know, some say they want wisdom, but they won't change their mind. They won't go around the corner to find it. There is a cost to wisdom. Have you noticed that? Because, you know, you'll be reading through the Bible and God will tell you to do something that doesn't make any physical sense. Why would I do that? Well, it doesn't line up. Why, God, would you ask me to do that? Because that's wisdom. What the world's doing is not wise. But we are so born into the system of the world that we think that's wisdom. And God is constantly telling us, no. I want you to go against the flow of this world. I want you to swim upstream. You know, Chuck Smith used to say, any dead fish can float downstream. It takes a live fish to go upstream, you know, and to do that work. Verse 17, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. You know, true friends, the guys you can really count on, the 2 or 3 or however many you have that are real friends, not Facebook, you know. Because I have a whole list of friends on Facebook. I'm like, do I even know them? When's the last time I saw them? I think it was in 1977 when I graduated, you know. And you know, friends are faithful. Friends show up in the hard times, when things are going on. In the good times and the bad times, they're friends. They're reliable, you know. Prosperity, adversity doesn't affect friendship. But, you know, it affects most people in your life. So I love the fact that Jesus has become my faithful friend. You know, he is that faithful one. How many friends do you have that know everything about you and still want to be your friend? I only have one, Jesus. Everybody else, if they knew anything about me, they would be running. Why are we listening to this idiot? Let's get out of here, you know. And he loves me in spite of me. He loves me when I blow it. He loves me when I'm an idiot. He loves me, you know, when I think, oh, I had a good week this week. He still looks at me and goes, nice try, but you know, but he still loves me then. And as a brother in the faith now, He's with me even in adversity, even in those hard times. You know what it's like when kind of the whole world like leaves you and it's just you and Jesus? Thank God it's just you and Jesus, right? It's never just you. Even Paul, when he was going through all his trials and stuff, he says, man, everybody left me, but I was never really alone because Christ stood with me, And that's where we are. We as Christians, we will never face something alone. And you and Jesus are a majority no matter where you're standing. So you got to keep that in mind. A man devoid of understanding shakes hands in a pledge and becomes surety for his brother. This is all about the co-signing again, co-signing on a loan, saying, hey, I'm going to put up the house to go bail your son out or your daughter out or, whatever it is. The Bible is interesting here. He says, you're devoid of understanding if you're doing that. You need to think carefully about this situation. Because if they run, if they default on that loan, if they do, you are on the hook. Brenda and I were watching this stupid show, and it's about renters in England. And this girl had her parents, she just got out of college, just finished school. They paid for everything, got her through, and they got her into this apartment. And then she lost her mind, got into drugs, lost everything. And they came looking for her, and they couldn't get any money out of her, so they came to the parents because their name's on the loan. And they didn't have the money. And the guys go, doesn't matter, you're on the hook. We're going to take your car, we're going to take your TV, we're going to take anything in your house that's of any value. And here's this heartbreaking story of loss. And here's these old people, they're both retired. They don't have it, they can't afford it. And yet, here it is. Be very careful. If you don't have the money to pay that thing off, don't buy it. Don't purchase it. Don't be a co-signer of it, He who loves transgression loves strife, and he who exalts his gate seeks destruction. You could wrap this up and say, sin is messy. You ever notice that? Not just for the sinner, but for the people that surround the sinner. Oh, my sin, yeah, I drink, but it doesn't affect anybody else. Just talk to anybody else in the family when there's an alcoholic in the family, or when there's a drug user in the family, or when there's, whatever it is. When a sinner does something stupid, it affects everybody else around them. Sometimes you have to make hard choices, Somebody does something stupid and they call you in the middle of the night. Hey, I just got arrested. Can you come bail me out? Hey, I just found myself over here, Can you come help me break into my apartment? Because I did, And you go through all of these things, And sometimes you can't do anything for them. And sometimes you have to do that. Sorry, buddy. I can't help you with this. Oh, you don't even like me. You hate me. And here comes the mess. And what was it caused by? You saying no? No, it wasn't caused by me saying no. It was by that guy getting in trouble. And yet the blame always runs the other way for some reason. The second part of this, it says, he who exalts his gate seeks destruction, building your house on a high place, People always like the foothills because I want to look down on everybody else. Look at me up here, get that superiority complex going. And we don't just do that in our houses. We do that in our lives. Sometimes we'll walk around, well, at least I'm not like that guy. We go into work, well, I was here on time, not like that jerk over there, come in dragging. Looks like he's been out all weekend partying, And we get this idea of superiority. You want to be that one house that draws attention in the neighborhood, so you're all fancy. You're the brick house in the wood construction zone, I remember Perry, my youngest son. He got old enough and he bought his first vehicle. He bought this Toyota 4Runner or whatever it was. And it had this killer stereo in it. And he comes rolling up. It's black, it's got big wheels and tires, it's lifted, and it boom, 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 come rolling up in the driveway, and he jumps out and he's just big old smile. And I said, well, son, it's amazing, it's great, really happy for you. I said, here's a lesson for you. I said, what you need to do is about a neighborhood away from the house. You need to shut your stereo off. Why, don't you like my music? It had nothing to do with your music. I said, but what you're doing is you're advertising your stereo and where it lives. And I said, if you roll up here with that thing booming and then shut it off and go in the house, one of these days you're going to walk out here and it's all going to be gone. Sure enough, about a month later, walks outside, all 4 doors on his 4Runner are open, and his stereo, there's just wires, and his stereo's gone. And he's so brokenhearted, and I'm like, here's one of those lessons. If you show off what you have, people will take what you show off. It leads to destruction, It says, verse 20, he who has a deceitful heart finds no good, and he who has a perverse tongue falls into evil. A twisted or crooked heart, and a deceitful and twisted tongue, they only lead to evil. Did you catch those words? They only lead that direction. Some people speech. You walk up to somebody and, hey, let me introduce you to so-and-so, and you walk up there just all smiling. There's like, hey, great, get to meet a new friend. And stuff, poison, venom just starts coming out of their mouth, and you're kind of caught, back. They get so unruly, so offensive, They can only go so far in life. This proverb says that will affect your destiny. That will affect where you get to. Because, you can't greet the customers at Burger King where you're flipping burgers with that mouth. You'll be fired. They won't hire you to be the phone salesman when that stuff comes out of your mouth, when it just rolls off your tongue. This is setting limits on yourself that you don't need to set on yourself. But most people never think about that. Well, it's a personal decision. I can shut it off when I want to. I get around the people I used to run around with before I got saved, because I talk just like them, And now I get around them, and it's like, whoa, what is that? That used to be me. That was me, I was probably worse than them. Jesus, in Luke 6:45, it says this, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil, for out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. What comes out of your mouth is simply a reflection of what's in your heart. The two are tied together. And if you read James, it says this tongue thing, it's anchored in hell, So there's never a good connection there. The way to know a person's spiritual temperature, talk to him. Talk to him. It'll come out. It'll come right out of their mouths. Verse 21, he who begets a scoffer does so to his sorrow, and the father of a fool has no joy. He who begets a scoffer, an arrogant person. You know, your son's all high and mighty and arrogant and won't take any advice, you know. The fool, you know, biblically, the fool is the one who says no to God. The fool has said in his heart, no God. One of the greatest sorrows in life is to have a child, have a son or a daughter that is stupid, that is foolish, that refuses to listen, that thinks they understand or know everything, and is untrainable. It is one of those things for a parent that just crushes them. Verse 22, a merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones. Having a cheerful disposition. I have known nothing about this for about 40 years of my life. And you know, in the last few years, I'm learning what a cheerful disposition is, you know. It's healthy. It's enjoyable, you know. Some want to think, well, it's just these circumstances I'm in. That's why I'm not very happy. That's why I'm grumpy Gus, you know. That's why I'm going through this. But I don't think that's it at all. I simply think if you run across a grumpy Christian, it's because they are not trusting God. They do not trust Him. My life seems like it's out of control. Well, it's not. It's in total control, just not your control. Understand that? He's in control of it. So let Him be. How hard is that, Mark? It's pretty hard. I've gone through a few things in my life. Things I didn't want to go through. You know, walks I didn't want to take. Conversations I didn't want to have. Experiences I didn't want to go through. And yet, I found that the Lord could hold me and even give me joy, not happiness, even give me joy going through those times. But Mark, I just don't know. And all you're saying to me is, I think I'm all powerful and God's not. So I'm going to be in control and I'm not going to let Him be in control. Well, I got news for you. He's always in control. You may think you're in control and He may let you run amok, but He's still all powerful. And we need to believe Him. When you read through His Word and He says He's got you, believe that. When you read through His Word and it says He wants to grace your life, He wants to bless you, He wants to give you, He wants to carry you, believe it and then walk like He's going to, right? If you give it to Him and trust Him with your heart, lean not on your own understanding, right? But in all your ways acknowledge Him, then He's going to direct your path. He's going to lead you. He's going to take you there. And guess what? It brings a little joy back into your life. You're like, wait a minute, last week was a nightmare, and yet I'm sitting here going, it's okay. He's got me, I'm cool. I love it when He does that. You know, Philippians chapter 4. Be anxious for nothing. How hard is that? Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and by supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God, and the peace of God which surpasses understanding will guard your heart and your minds through Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, if they're pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of a good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, think on those things. Stop thinking about your issues. Stop thinking about your problems. Stop letting them become these huge things. You know, it's all about perspective. God, I've got this huge problem. And He's looking down. I don't see any huge problem. Where's the huge problem? Well, it's this thing in my life. It's because of your perspective. You've made it bigger than it really is. It's not easy. It's not easy if you're struggling, if you're going through hardship, if you're going through a battle. It is not easy to get your eyes off of the problem and focus on Jesus and trust him. That's why it's called walking by faith. Boy, I don't see it. You should read Habakkuk, just a little short verse or a little short book. The end of Habakkuk, I love the end of Habakkuk. Because at the first, he's got all these questions. Lord, I don't see this happening. And why are all those wicked people prospering? And we're not prospering. And where'd you go? And what's all this stuff? And by the end, he goes, Lord, if the crop doesn't come up this year, don't care. If the lambs in the stalls don't give birth, don't care. If the paycheck doesn't come, don't care. If this doesn't happen, if that doesn't happen, I don't care, because I'm just going to trust and believe in you. End of story. If we could just get there, right? That's why it's called walking by faith. Not walking by what I see, not walking by what I feel, feelings. I just had a sermon about feelings at the pastor's conference. And the guy says there's this 4-letter word that has crept into the church. It starts with an F, and it needs to be done away with. And the word is feel. Have you ever read about Jesus? Well, guys, I feel like we need to go to Jerusalem. And I feel like I need to go to the cross, He never says that. You realize that, right? He says, I know. I believe. I understand. God has told me, this is what's going to happen. But we get all feelinged up. I just want to let you know that Jesus never uses the word. That the apostles in the New Testament never use the word. Well, we got together and we feel like we should go do this. Sorry, doesn't happen. Well, Mark, I feel like you're picking on me, like you're offending me. Well, I'm not. It's not a feeling. I am picking on you. I am offending you. It's not a feeling. Get over that, And then the guy, he's at a men's conference, right? Pastors, And he says, but we're men. He says, but we're men. Our feelings are little. Just get over them, And I like that. God gave you feelings on purpose, but feelings are never to rule and to reign in your life. Truth. We walk by faith. We walk in truth. We're in the light. We're not in feeling land. But a broken spirit. Think about that. This isn't a broken heart. This isn't being a broken bone. This is a broken spirit. The thing between you and God is broken. That will dry you up. And you need Jesus to step in there. And how do you do that? You need to trust him. He's never going to leave me or forsake me. So why do I feel so dry? Because he wants you to feel dry, because he wants you to walk by faith right here. Well, he's right there with you. Because he hasn't left you. He hasn't forsaken you. He hasn't done anything, gone anywhere. He's just wanting you to walk out what you believe. I see it in some people, though. Circumstances have taken the life right out of them, sucked the life right out of them. You've met people like that. They're going through something, and it's like they just show up. Here I am. It's me again, Their lives have become like a crust of bread. There's no joy. There's no wonder. There's no purpose. They're just plodding through. And they need to remember Romans 8:28. And we feel. No, sorry, that's wrong. And we know, right, that all things work together for the good of those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. So we don't just believe in God. We believe what he says. We learn to believe what his word is telling us. God's going to use everything that's going on in your life to conform you into the image of Christ. He says he's going to use all things. Notice it doesn't say he's going to use all good things, all righteous things, all holy things. No, he's going to use everything. He's going to use sin. He's going to use failure. He's going to use pain and trial. He's going to use all of this stuff for your good. We need to take him at his word and live above our circumstances, not under. You ever talk to somebody? How you doing? Oh, pretty good under the circumstances. What are you doing under there? Get back on top, would you? Get out from under that mess. Go deliver those circumstances to the Lord. Say, Lord, this is your issue. Get on with it. Get it fixed. I'm going to breakfast. Let me know how it works out, We should always, you should walk up to people, how you doing? We should always be doing great. Well, that's not true, Mark. Oh, yes, it is. Where's your destination? Oh, you're going to heaven? What? And you mean you're not doing great? How is that possible? You're saved and you're not doing great? I got some friends, every time you ask them, how you doing? Better than I deserve. That's true. Because I deserve the darkest pit of hell, But I'm glory bound. That's better than I deserve, Sometimes we just can't see it. I totally get it, totally understand. That's where faith steps in. That's where trust steps in. That's where we just believe. I believe Jesus, and he said this, and I'm walking there. I don't see it yet, I don't feel it yet, but I'm going. Let's go. Verse 23. A wicked man accepts a bribe behind the back to pervert the ways of justice. Notice who God says these things about. The wicked man. Who takes bribes to pervert justice? The wicked. When I first read this proverb and started to write out my stuff, my first thoughts went to Congress, to the senators. Because we have these lobbying committees now, right? And they come in and lobby your senator. And how do they do that? They wine them, dine them, write them a check for their campaign contributions. And you know what that is? That's bribery to get you to look this way or look away from that. All these special interest groups doing all of these things to twist someone's natural perspective. Who are they? The wicked, this verse says. When decisions are made on the basis of money and bribes and not right and wrong, something has happened to society. It's a lawless society. It's a corrupt society. We're right here, folks. It's right here in the air. Verse 24, wisdom is in the sight of him who has understanding, but the eyes of the fool are on the ends of the earth. Wisdom is right in front of everyone who wants it. As close as the nearest Bible. Wisdom's right there. As close as prayer. As close as asking. It's that close. But the fool rejects it maybe because it's so near. Well, that can't really be wisdom because everybody, if that were true, everybody would do it. You ever hear that? Well, if getting saved was so easy, why doesn't everybody get saved? Because they're dumb like you. Yeah. Did that come out wrong? Sorry. Because, what do you got to do to get saved? Well, you got to work for it. You got to earn it. Got to go through all these hoops and crawl on glass up this mountain. And, no. What do you got to do? You got to believe that Jesus came and did what he did for you. That's what you got to do. That seems too easy. If it's too easy, then it's too good to be true. Okay. What's the focus of your life? Because the focus of your life means everything. Is it godliness with contentment? If I just want to be God's person right here, right now, right today, that's all I want to be. I don't have any of these high goals, lofty things. I just want to be where God wants me to be. That's what I want to be. That's wisdom. Where is your focus on the ends of the earth? Oh, if I could just get this, and if I could go there and get and work on this thing, and you're doing anything you can to get some lofty goal that's way out there. You want to be different. You want to stand out. You want to be unique. I'm pretty unique. I think that's a good word, unique. I do stand out. But it's not because I don't fit in. Verse 25, it says, a foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her who bore him. It's tough having a son or daughter who doesn't listen, who won't obey, who thinks they know it all. So what do you do with one if you have one like that? We'll just write them off. Yeah, he's a write-off. No. You pray for them. You ask, you seek, you knock. You ask others to pray with you. Because if the Lord can save me, if the Lord can save the person sitting in your seat, the Lord can save that son, that daughter, that foolish one. Because I walked for years in that foolishness. And God somehow reached out there and saved my worthless hide. So we got to do that thing. Never give up, never surrender. What was the Grapthar's hammer or whatever it was, the movie thing, That's your job. As a parent, never give up, never surrender. Just keep praying for them. They'll come to you. Would you quit praying for me? Nope. Just going to get worse. So I'm just laying it on. Matter of fact, I'm going to call Manny, and he's going to pray for you too now. Stop it, Dad. Okay. Yeah, that's going to happen, Because nobody stopped praying for me. I have no idea who was praying for me, but somebody was praying for me. One of these days I'll figure that out. Also, to punish the righteous is not good, nor to strike princes for their uprightness. The perversion of justice, again condemned. Only a wicked and perverse generation punishes the righteous and rewards the evil. Only a wicked and perverse generation. He who has knowledge, He who has knowledge spares his words, and a man of understanding is of a calm spirit. There's two marks to a wise person. One, he thinks before he speaks. And the other is he's even-tempered. He doesn't rage. He doesn't get up or way down in his speech. Verse 28, even a fool is counted wise when he holds his peace. When he shuts his lips, he is considered perceptive. I love this verse because we have some modern takes on this, As long as some guy is in the crowd and he doesn't say anything, he's just sitting there listening and looking back and forth. People are looking at him and they don't know man, that guy must know a lot. He's not, and they give him the benefit of the doubt. The quickest way to know a fool is to let him talk. Let him talk. Even when he doesn't know what you're talking about. you'd be talking about engines and motors and stuff that I'm a backyard mechanic. I know how to tighten bolt A onto nut B, I'm that kind of mechanic, But you talk about, real guys, and they're getting into all these things. Well, I found if you loosen this up and put that gadget over there, and I just sit there and listen. It's like, you guys still talking about motors? What's going on? But people think I'm pretty perceptive because I don't say a word, Because all I'd have to do is go, you talking about the blower mechanism thing? And they'd look at you like, we stopped that 20 minutes ago, It's better to keep your mouth shut and let people wonder if you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Right? James Sinclair said that. That is this verse. How many times have I opened my mouth and removed all doubt? That guy knows nothing about this, some construction thing or some building thing or whatever it is. Chapter 18. A man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment. It's kind of talking about a nonconformist, someone who isolates himself, one who is in rebellion against the system or against whatever's going on. He's determined to have his own way. And they become so intolerant of everything that's going on, they become unteachable. And that is a foolish thing to do. That's raging against all wisdom, to become unteachable. Today, so many around us have a nonconformist view. And they're welcome to that. God bless you, good luck with that, kind of thing. But when it goes against all wisdom, when it goes against truth, when it goes against logic, then it's just foolishness. They're living out there in la-la land. Well, I don't think you have to do this, and I don't really believe this, and I feel like that. And, you get all of those great keywords, I think, and I believe, and I feel, None of those things says truth to me. Once you set up some artificial protection for your beliefs, some artificial wall that doesn't involve truth or reality, you're simply confessing that your belief system cannot stand up to an open challenge. The thing I love about Christianity is I have never had to defend it, ever. It's been said, this thing's a lion, right? It's a lion. Somebody wants me to defend it. I don't defend a lion. I just let him out of the cage. He can defend himself. Watch this, I've never had to back down as a Christian because I have facts. I have truth. I have God's word on my side. There's always, a guy like a Norman Geisler out there. A guy like a Ravi Zacharias. Some of these big brain, deep thinker guys that I'm just like, well, I don't know the answer to that, but go look this guy up. Call him with your question. God challenges the world about Christianity. He says, come, let us reason together. Bring your reason, bring your logic, bring your intellect, bring it to the table. I'll prove it. I'll prove it to you. How many will take that challenge? I don't know many that will take that challenge. A fool has no delight in understanding, but in expressing his own heart. This fool possesses a closed mind and an open mouth. That's a dangerous combination, right? He won't listen to anything anybody else has to say, but he wants to prove his case by just talking and talking and talking. As long as you are talking, you are not learning. We must be quiet to take in what somebody else is saying, to ponder it, to let it filter through. I see this mentality over and over in our culture. I'm right, and I'm going to tell you how right I am, and when I'm done being right, I'm going to run away because I don't want to hear a word you have to say. I don't want to hear your rebuttal. I don't want, I just want to speak, blah, and run, They never let you get in a statement. You start to say something and they interrupt you, they cut you off, they change directions. They're in total control. They mislead you, they redirect you, they do all of those things. When I find somebody like that, they're telling me how wrong I am. I look at them and I smile and I turn around and I walk away from them. And they get hot. Wait a minute, I'm not done. Yes, you are. Game, set, and match. You win. Bye. Because until they're willing to listen, I can't do a thing with them. It is not our job to convince the world that we're right, that this book is right, that Jesus is the only way. It's not my job. My job, our job, is looking for someone who is hungry or thirsty, has questions, wants to learn. Oh, I'll stand there all day for that person, but not for the one who thinks they know it all. Verse 3, when the wicked comes, contempt comes also, and with dishonor comes reproach. Wickedness has three companions. And wickedness always has these three companions. These three companions always follow wickedness. Contempt. People really do despise wicked people. The guy that stole half of your 401k and ran off to, the islands somewhere. He's living on your money. People don't really respect that guy. There's this contempt inside of them. It brings dishonor. That's disrespect, shame on a person. It brings reproach. That's scorn and rebuke. It brings those things, always brings those things with it. The words of a man's mouth are deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom is a flowing brook. Deep waters. Our words reveal more about us than we think they reveal about us. When we talk to people, it's revealing your heart. It's revealing a depth that is inside of you. Jesus says, out of the depths of your heart, your mouth speaks. It says it's a wellspring of wisdom. It's like a spring of water. It's clear, it's cool, it's refreshing, it's life-giving. That's an encouragement to wise people to speak. Well, I'm not sure I'm very wise. Were you smart enough to get saved? Then you're wise. We always try to exclude ourselves. Let the prayer of faith, well, I prayed, but I'm not sure there was any faith. Well, we're always trying to exclude ourselves on the technicalities. I'm sorry. You are the wise people of this planet, We need to share it. We need to share wisdom, share truth, share life, share love with other people, Share what God has placed upon your heart this week, what you've been dealing with, what you've been going through, and what He's been revealing to you. Our world is dying to know what some of you people will not share. Some of you people have just got it canned up in there. Oh, I can't speak to that guy. Yes, you can. What you take for granted every day, this world is going to hell because you're not speaking it. Sometimes I get in places where I don't want to say anything. this is going to be ugly. If I have to say something here, this could get complicated. This could get messy. This could, and sometimes I don't want to, but I know I have to. James says this, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure. The wisdom from above is pure because it's God's word. Then it's peaceable, it's gentle, it's willing to yield. It's full of mercy and good fruits. It's without partiality and without hypocrisy. I remember when I first got saved, I heard this quote from St. Francis of Assisi. It says, preach the gospel at all times. When necessary, use words. And I love that. I'm like, yeah, just let your life preach the gospel. Unfortunately, the gospel is words. You have to use words to communicate the gospel. So I go back and look at that statement. I think, well, that's a stupid quote, God gave us all tongues. There are times when you need to bite your tongue. You guys know that. That's why it comes in its own cage, right? Close the cage. Don't say it. But there are times when you need to open the cage and speak truth, speak life. Verse 5. It is not good to show partiality to the wicked or to overthrow the righteous in judgment. Speaking of the national judicial system again, we're to reward right, we're to punish wrong. We need to be very careful which direction we're going today, what we're voting for today, where we're leading people today. The wicked should live in fear in a righteous nation. Because the knock on the door could be the police, the drug bust. It could be the thing that does it. And the righteous should live in confidence. You should walk around with your head held high going, man, I haven't done anything. If it's the cop at the door, he's telling me there's some problem, but it's not me. You should be able to live in confidence. But that's all backwards now. So we better stop there. We've got communion today. And we're going to do something a little different today, but I just want you guys to be thinking about your life, thinking about your spiritual condition. Physically, you can be a mess. Mentally, you can be in the middle of head games. But spiritually, you should be connected to that rock. There should be this firm, strong, positive, like it says in Hebrews, the anchor, is holding us there in heaven. And the anchor holds. The anchor is strong. We are anchored there. And though the storms are raging down here in life, the anchor is sure, steadfast. So as Rhonda gets up here and sings this communion song, and as the guys pass out the elements, I want you to hold on to them. And when they're done, I'm going to get up here and we're going to talk for a few minutes. And we're going to take the communion elements all together. But it's going to be a time of prayer, a time of laying on of hands, a time of just resetting. Where are we? Are we held? Do we know that? Because Christ spent it all so we could know that he has us. Christ laid down his life, shed his blood, so we wouldn't sit here wondering if we're okay. But we could sit here confident that we are okay in him. So sing this song. Hang on to those elements. Think about the blood of Christ. Think about the body of Christ. And think about the change that has brought into your life. as we prepare for communion. So as we're holding these elements, as you're holding these elements, I know in a church, I know in lives, I know in me personally, that there are times when circumstances become overwhelming. And I know there are people in this church that are going through hard things, struggling physically, struggling emotionally, mentally, financially. They're struggling, and they believe in Jesus. But I think they believe in Jesus like that guy, who the Lord said, he says, I want you to heal my son. And he says, well, if you believe, I'll heal my son. And the guy says, well, I believe, but help my unbelief, right? How many of us find ourselves there all the time because I believe up to a certain level, and past that certain level, I've never experienced. I've never broken through. I've never just had absolute assurance that I'm His, and nothing can separate me. Nothing can get in there and disturb me. So I'm going to ask you to do something embarrassing. If you're in a place and you're struggling, maybe it's just in your faith, maybe it's physically, maybe it's financially, maybe it's you're dealing with in your marriage, it's with your kids, and it's a struggle. I want you to raise your hand. I want you to look around. Look around. You don't think we struggle? You don't think that even though we believe in Jesus, I trust His word, I trust Him, He's got me. You don't still have those little things inside of you that twist you. You don't have that voice, oh, Jesus doesn't love you. He wouldn't leave you like this if He loved you. He wouldn't leave you in this position or in that place if He loved you. So now I want you to do something weird. I want you to get up. And I want you to go to the aisle behind you. And I just want you to lay your hand on that person and silently pray for them. Because you know they're struggling. Did you see the hands? Everybody, every row was struggling. They need your prayers. We need your prayers. So let's do that right now. Get up. And if you can't get up, totally understand. Sit there, and people will come to you. Just put your hands on their shoulders. Tell them you love them, and pray for them. Now I want you to look down into your hands. The communion table is the table that God offers you Himself. You're holding this little cracker that is the body of Christ. The one that He took on, that was broken and abused and spit on, nailed to a cross, thrown into a grave. And He went through that so you would never be alone in your struggle. You would never be overcome in this world. And that blood, that little fruit juice in the cup, all of your failures, all of your sins. You're sitting there thinking, well, it was the reason I'm sick like this is it was my past life, and God's just getting even for all of that junk. I'm sorry, all of that stuff was washed in the blood of Christ. It's forgiven. It's gone. Stop going fishing for it. If you are going through something, it's to conform you into the image of Christ. It's to make you more like him. One that's willing to lay down your body. One that's willing to shed your blood. One that's willing to do whatever it takes to help someone else, to pray for someone else, to encourage someone else. And there are times going through that it's hard. Your faith gets so thin, it seems like. And yet, you're holding in your hands everything you need. Because his blood didn't just run out of his body and go into the ground. He took human blood back into heaven and made man and God back into a relationship again, like it was with Adam in the garden. And his body didn't just stay in that tomb, but it got back up in new power, in new life. And that new life is ever present with you today, not just for him to be glorified, but for you to be empowered and to get through life. We have it all. He gave it all. And by faith this morning, we're going to take it all because we need it all. Father, I just praise you. I praise you for the plan. I praise you for your son Jesus, who willingly humbled himself, took on flesh, came down here, walked out that life of perfect obedience, the thing we could never do, and then was abused, went to the cross, and died for us, literally in our place. He was separated from you so we would never have to be separated from you. He took eternal punishment. He went into eternal darkness so we never would have to. And though we have struggles, though we have trials, though we ache and groan and whine, yet you have us. And our guarantee is sure. We have a future and a hope. And for the blood, the very life blood of Christ drained out to wash us white as snow. And God, we sit here this morning. And God, we want to partake of everything you have for us. So Lord, make it real. And bring it into our lives, God. That we would be your sons and daughters by faith. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.